Sincerely yours, The Breakfast Club.
It's scared tonight. Who do you love? Ow, ow, no, sit.
Hey there, and welcome back to John Hughes Revisited. This week, we're taking a look back at one of Hughes' famous road trip comedies. Nope, it's not National Lampoon's Vacation.
Well, up and at 'em.
It's the Thanksgiving classic, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. John Hughes is back pulling triple duty as the producer, writer, and director of this timeless masterpiece, and his first real attempt at a holiday movie. Steve Martin and John Candy headline this holiday comedy about an odd couple who embark on a 3-day cross-country odyssey to get Martin's character home to Chicago in time for Thanksgiving Day. While these two actors make for quite the perfect pairing, their characters are on wildly different ends of the personality spectrum.
Is this a coincidence or what? Have a seat.
According to Hughes, he was inspired to write the script after having a similar experience himself while on an actual flight from New York to Chicago. Like the film, his flight was diverted to Wichita, Kansas, and it took him 5 days to return home. Naturally, like any of Hughes' screenplays, he wrote the first draft in only 3 days.
Took me 2.5 years to write Roxanne. It took me 3 days to write Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. 4, or did it go into 5?
At this point in his career, Hughes' average writing time for a screenplay was about 3 to 5 days, with 20-something rewrites by the end. So thanks for making us all feel like even bigger pieces of shit, John.
This is the fastest writer in the world.
As we mentioned before, the film stars Steve Martin as Neil Page, a tightly wound marketing executive. Martin was convinced to join the production after reading 2 of his favorite scenes from the script, the seat adjustment in the car, along with the F-bomb tirade at the car rental desk.
How may I help you?
You can start by wiping that fucking dumbass smile off your rosy fucking cheeks.
Martin's co-star, John Candy, plays
Del Griffith, American Light and Fixture, Director of Sales, Shower Curtain Ring Division.
a lovable yet irritating shower curtain ring salesman.
Best in the world.
Originally, Hughes wanted Tom Hanks and John Travolta for the roles of Neil Page and Del Griffith, but Hanks was too busy shooting big. I guess I can see Hanks playing either role, but Travolta playing Del would definitely make Neil wonder if he was trying to kill him, or screw him.
Oh, you thought I...
No, go ahead.
Oh, I would... What do you think I am?
Yeah, no.
God, no. Gee, that's funny. That's funny.
As for Travolta, Paramount execs did not want him in the film because he was considered box office poison at the time. Rick Moranis was also considered for Neil, while John Goodman was considered for Del. Laila Robins plays Neil's wife Susan Page, who was actually 13 years younger than Martin in real life. The incredible Michael McKean also shows up playing a state trooper. He receives 4th billing despite only appearing in one scene for about 90 seconds. His role was actually supposed to be much longer, as his character was intended to provide additional exposition.
Which is that they have overshot Chicago. They have gone 100 miles past Chicago. And I tell them, you're never gonna get to Chicago if you keep doing this way.
Upon hearing this news, Neil attacks Del and winds up chasing him around the car, which the trooper has to comically break up. But as the script went through revisions and plot points were changed, Hughes discarded most of the scene and reshot it as a traffic stop, leaving out any information about where they were or about the pair being lost. Michael McKean had to return to New York to shoot this condensed version, which explains the continuity issues between the sunny and snowy skies. Hughes' regular Edie McClurg plays the infamous car rental agent. With Hughes' guidance, her role was partially improvised. Hughes told her to simply riff a fake phone conversation with someone about Thanksgiving plans while Steve Martin stares daggers at her, waiting for her to finish up. In fact, it was all McClurg's idea to have her character speak with her sister and ad-libbed.
You know I can't cook.
Impressed, Hughes asked her how she came up with those lines so quickly, and she answered that, like his scripts, she just used inspiration from her own life. To this day, McClurg claims that random people ask her to tell them that
You're bust.
Dylan Baker plays Owen in his feature debut and essentially created this character himself. The snorts, facial tics, and twisted expressions are all his own making. The actress who played his silent wife, Louie Newcomb, said it was extremely difficult to keep a straight face while shooting the scene with him. Another instance where Hughes incorporated an improvisational moment was during this character's introduction scene. After being dissatisfied with several takes, Hughes privately instructed Baker to wipe spit in his right hand, just before shaking hands with Martin's character. Steve Martin was not expecting this, thus his disgusted reaction to shaking Baker's gross hand. The film crew reportedly exploded into laughter as Martin ran off to wash his hands immediately following the encounter. Hughes got the reaction he needed, and the footage was kept in the final film. Another frequent Hughes collaborator, Ben Stein, shows up as a Wichita airport rep.
I'm sorry to announce that we're canceling Flight 909 due to severe weather in Chicago.
Martin Ferrero also has a small role as the second motel clerk. You may know him from his more popular appearance as the lawyer who gets eaten while on the toilet in Jurassic Park. Larry Hankin plays the devilish taxi driver. Ferris Bueller's father, who is played by Lyman Ward, even shows up as Neil's business partner. Okay, it's not really Ferris's dear old dad, but this could have easily been the start of a John Hughes cinematic universe. Bill Irwin shows up as the man on the plane. Irwin would go on to work with Hughes again in Home Alone. He's also known for his role as the cranky old man in Seinfeld.
Oh, listen, before you go, would you mind changing my diaper?
Kevin Bacon makes a quick cameo as a man racing Steve Martin for a taxi. Bacon would go on to star in Hughes' next film the following year, She's Having a Baby. The director of Pretty in Pink, Howard Deutsch, was originally slated to direct this film, but once Steve Martin signed on, Hughes opted to direct the picture himself. Principal photography on the project lasted a total of 85 days, mostly shooting around New York State. Additional scenes were also shot in Missouri, Ohio, and Illinois. It was intended to be shot in Chicago, but the production crew had to hop from state to state to find enough snow for the look of the film. During filming, Hughes kept rewriting the script, which made the amount of footage he shot much longer than what the original screenplay entailed. Hughes shot over 600,000 feet of film, which was almost twice the industry average. When he turned in his first cut, it was 3 hours and 45 minutes long. That's pretty remarkable considering that the final cut is a lean 92 minutes, with credits included. Apparently, this longer version also featured a subplot about Neil's wife not believing his situation and suspecting that he's with another woman, but ultimately was cut. Initial test screenings were poorly received, as audiences viewed Dell as a mooch and Neil as his patsy.
Well, who let you stay in the room? I even let you pay for it so you wouldn't feel like an intruder, which you most certainly are.
In order to remedy this, Hughes and editor Paul Hirsch restored a subplot about their credit cards being mixed up, as well as dialogue to display Dell's intention to pay Neil back.
I was gonna send it back to you, with whatever the rental car charge was, plus interest. But you didn't give me your address. What was I supposed to do?
Some additional footage not included in the theatrical cut is a scene with Dell and Neil trying to eat in flight from New York to Chicago. Dell rants about which meals he orders according to what airline he's flying.
If I'm flying United, I'll say I'm a youngster. They'll give me the kiddie plate. That's a hot dog, a bag of potato chips, a gherkin, and a nice little bag of Oreo cookies.
In the scene, Neil's dinner is lasagna, which due to numerous delays has been reheated several times. Unsatisfied with his meal, Neil gives it to Dell, who shares it with Bill Irwin, the old man next to Neil. Another cut scene was Dell ordering a pizza and a 6-pack of beer at the first motel. We even hear Neil mention the beer spilling all over the bed sheets.
You left him on a vibrating bed. What did you think was gonna happen?
And the robber was actually the pizza delivery boy who they stiff on the tip, since Neil asked for a salad but was given pizza instead. Other deleted scenes featured the pair heading to a strip club to find a phone after their car catches fire. Dell doing an impression of Elvis Presley by singing into his hairbrush, and Neil punching Del in the face after he mentions not having bought insurance for the rental car they destroyed, which is why he has a black eye towards the end of the film. Lastly, there was a different version of the ending where Del follows Neil all the way home, but Hughes decided in post-production that Candy's character would finally take the hint and let Neil return home alone, before Neil has a change of heart. The footage used of Neil on the Chicago train was shot in between takes without Martin knowing. Hughes thought Martin had a beautiful expression in that unguarded moment, and it works wonders in the final film. According to Hirsch, a 2-hour version of the movie still exists, but he doesn't know where it is, and most of it has probably deteriorated by now. Neil's house was also a set built entirely from scratch, consisting of 7 rooms and taking about 5 months to complete. It ended up costing the production $100,000, which angered Paramount executives and caused major turmoil on set. The exterior of the rental car was designed to resemble that of the Griswold station wagon from another of Hughes' previous productions. For that infamous rent-a-car sequence, no transportation company wanted to appear inept or deficient in any manner, so crews constructed a set that mimicked an airline terminal, designed a rent-a-car company logo and uniforms, and rented 250 cars to pull off that sequence. The film was released theatrically on November 25, 1987, appropriately the day before Thanksgiving of that year, finishing in 3rd place for its opening weekend. By the end of its box office run, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles grossed just shy of $50 million worldwide against a budget of $15 million. The film was lavished with praise, with many critics commending Hughes for branching out from teen comedies as well as the acclaimed performances of both Candy and Martin. The soundtrack is less eclectic than previous Hughes films, with it featuring a mix of rock and roll, country, pop, and folk music. One of my favorite sequences makes extensive use of the song Mess Around, performed by the great Ray Charles.
Everybody here's gonna have some fun doing the mess around. They're doing the mess around.
Charles was actually Candy's co-star in the Blues Brothers film. A little known fact about this film is that Elton John was actually commissioned to compose the theme song. He had nearly completed writing it when just 2 days before he was set to record it, Paramount Pictures issued a last-minute demand that the original songmaster become property of the studio. Elton's record company would not allow this due to contractual obligations, so a deal could not be reached and he had to withdraw from the project. Instead, Paramount opted to license Paul Young's Every Time You Go Away as the movie's theme song, and sadly, Elton John's original theme was never recorded. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles marked a shift in John Hughes' filmography, surprising many who had pigeonholed Hughes as a teen angst filmmaker. Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel gave it 2 thumbs up, with the former saying the film was founded on its perfect casting, and the latter declaring it John Candy's best role to date. Well, until Uncle Buck, but we'll get to that episode soon enough. Thankfully, there really hasn't been talk of any sequel or bizarre television adaptations to this heartfelt holiday classic. That is, until August 2020, when it was announced that a remake was in the works starring Kevin Hart and Will Smith. Both of these actors' respective production companies were set to produce the film, but ever since that Oscars fiasco, this project is most likely in limbo for the time being. There's also an Indian film called Anbi Saivam, which bears a similar plot and characters to Hughes' film, but is not considered a remake since the story unfolds much differently. I suppose you could also view the Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis vehicle, no pun intended, Due Date, as a quasi-remake of this film, but it definitely doesn't hold a candle to Hughes' brilliant madcap cross-country comedy. Both John Candy and Steve Martin regard it as their favorite film within their own storied filmographies. I also love that Hughes didn't care about the rating of this film, clearly, since it could have been rated PG-13 or even PG if it wasn't for that car rental sequence, where Steve Martin drops the F-bomb 18 times. This film might also mark the first instance of Hughes using that trademark cartoonish effect of characters turning into skeletons. We would later see this used again in Home Alone 2. I love how visceral and over-the-top the sound design is. You can tell that the Foley artists really had a ball with this film.
gonna freeze to death out there.
I mean, who wouldn't? It's chock full of excellent character moments
I like me.
and memorable dialogue that is quoted to this very day.
Wiping that dumbass smile off your rosy cheeks.
I really can't stop gushing about this film. I love watching it any time of the year, but especially around Thanksgiving. There's really not that many films that can be considered Thanksgiving movies, and I'm someone who even counts the original Spider-Man film as one of those. I think what works for this film is that it's not centered on the holiday itself, but rather on the attempt to get home in time for the holiday. That's it. That's the goal. And boy, what a ride it is, thanks to the match made in comedy heaven that is Steve Martin and John Candy. If there's any deeper meaning we can take away from this film, it's that even though we may live clashing lifestyles, we can all come to the realization that despite our differences, we're all just human in the end. That's why this warm conclusion really elevates the film, as it finally clicks for Neil about Dell's tragic backstory, so he invites his less fortunate friend home for dinner with his family. And isn't that what the holidays are all about? And on that note, I award Planes, Trains, and Automobiles 5 out of 5 turkeys. And as always, thanks for watching.